All right. Hi, everybody. This talk today I've named it Statically Typed Ruby, where it's at, and should we care? Before I get started, I'm just really interested. Has anyone here used static types with Ruby before? A little bit? Yeah. Okay. Has anyone used a statically typed language before? Yes. Okay. More people. Has everybody heard of static types in Ruby? Nods. Yeah, okay, cool. So I went on a bit of a deep dive in this. I guess first of all, I'll just introduce myself. Hi, I'm Dan. I'm a principal software engineer here at Storypark. I've been working as a professional developer since 1998. And I've been using Ruby professionally since 2015. Worked on all kinds of web platforms, mainly web platforms in big and small companies in various countries. So what started out as kind of a technical deep dive has kind of turned into a bit of an autobiography of my experience. So I'm just going to start off with me. I kind of grew up using statically typed languages. That's me as a little kid. I wasn't writing code when I was that age. What I got used to and what I learned was Java, and I was kind of involved in building web apps, like back when from Java 1 when applets were really cool. I don't know if anyone remembers that here. Yeah, okay, we've got some. Yeah, okay, all right, cool. I'm not the only old person. The paradigm of a static language is that the compiler can do the work for you. You can have an IDE that can tell you exactly where a method is defined, and you always kind of know what you're working with. You know what type you're using because it's right there in front of you, just like it says. In the 90s and early 2000s, it was very in to use some kind of large environment built by one of the big tech companies, something like IBM or Microsoft or something like that. They were trying to get you into their kind of walled garden of systems that would then be served on a heavyweight server that you paid them a lot of money to use. And that's kind of the environment that I came into web programming in. Eventually, I moved, not necessarily by choice, but into Ruby. I got a job working in Ruby and matured into a Ruby developer. My reaction in seeing Ruby was shock. There are so many ways to do the same thing. What is this variable? Where did it come from? Where is it defined? I don't know. But what I learned was over time to love the language. And if you just compare these code snippets here, just look how much more pretty this is. Right? It just looks nice and it feels good, and you don't have all of this visual craft surrounding it. So that's kind of been my journey. There's some benefits to this, right? First of all, it's terse, which I appreciate. That's a personal thing for me. I think for a lot of Rubyists, they have personal reasons for liking Ruby, and it gives you more room for creativity. You can try new things. You can send objects to methods that maybe weren't expecting it and see what happens. It just allows you to play around a lot, resulting in chaos, but also freedom. And so you really get to kind of experience what's possible with software. If any of you know the founder of Ruby, Matt, his goal is to bring joy to people, and that's something that I've learned to appreciate. Is that can you actually can a software language bring you joy? I think if you're here, the answer is probably yes. I hope so anyway. So lo and behold, version 3 of Ruby was released, and when I was poking around with it, something I discovered was static typing. Kind of blew my mind at the time. Why would this language that kind of defined itself by its dynamism, its chaos and its joy, move into static typing? I haven't been able to answer that question yet, but I have found out some things about it. So I tried to do a little demo of what static typing looks like in Ruby. And for those of you who haven't seen it, hopefully you'll learn something from this. So I made a very simple class here. It's called Booer. It boos things for you. There's the constructor can take pretty much everything, anything you throw at it. It'll take it and it will boo it for you. It could boo the number 21. It could boo a random string. It could boo today's date in UTC. Whatever you want, boo. In order to add typing to this, with Ruby static typing, you need a whole new file, separate from your file, using a format called RBS. So it's a language that looks kind of similar to Ruby, but this will not compile. This is not actual Ruby code. You define your class, and then you define the types going in and out of your methods. I used a gem called Steep to do the checking. This gem it's unlike statically typed languages. This is not going to compile your code. It's not going to turn it from one thing into another. It's literally just checking that your definition will matches up with your code. So in this case, I've been kind of lazy and I've defined my constructor as untyped. That was the original intent of it. It could take anything and it could say boo. So that all compiles that checks correctly, and it looks good. But say I want to restrict that a little more. I could do something like this, and I could say that now my Booer class only accepts strings or integers. And then when I run a check, I see, oh, look at that. Cannot pass a value of time as an argument. So my attempt to boo today is not going to work. Notice I haven't changed my code in any way. All I've done is change the definition of that code. So this code will still run. Everything still works just like it did before. But if someone tries to run a steep check on it, that steep check is going to fail. So that's how it works as of version 3. So looking into this, I kind of asked myself, like, who is actually using this? Who's doing static typing in Ruby? Who's this for? Why are we doing this? And that was an interesting journey. If you Google RBS types in Ruby, there's a lot of results. A lot of blog posts, a lot of articles, a lot of like deep dives, explanations. You can learn all about it as much as you want. So maybe bloggers are using this, or at least they're writing articles about it. But I was really curious as to how many actual developers are using this, who's putting this into production. So I had a look at Ruby gems. The type checker Steep, just under 1 million total downloads, 3,000 for the most current version. RBS itself, 5 million, which is a pretty big difference actually. So more people are using the definitions than they are the actual type checker. Maybe they have other tools, I'm not exactly sure. But then, if you compare these numbers to say Rails or Bundler, we're looking at 2 orders of magnitude more, so not that popular. Then I had a look at Stack Overflow, and searching on the RBS tag, I found 11 questions. which actually like made sense finally, because while I was kind of researching this and trying to play around with RBS and write various kind of RBS files, I had a lot of trouble whenever I got stuck finding a solution. I found a lot of articles telling me what to do. Some of them were completely wrong. In fact, a lot of them were wrong. I had to really just kind of play around with it until I got what I wanted, which actually took me all the way back to 1998 when I first started, and we didn't even have Stack Overflow. It was a very familiar experience. Sorry? We had the internet in 1998. Yeah, we did. Yeah.
We had animal books. Lots of animals on them.
Yeah. Those are still around, I hear.
So yeah, my conclusion is that maybe not that many people are using this just yet. My next thing was like, well, what do some of the famous Rubyists out there think? First person I looked at was what does Matt say? And I couldn't find any opinion that he has shared on the matter. He's been fairly silent about it. Yeah, not much to say. So no real conclusions there. What does DHS say? Another famous Rubyist, someone who's not shy about sharing his opinion. He says, as long as I never have to soil my Ruby with type hints or write all front-end code in TypeScript, I can so happily coexist with those who adore Go or cast-end JavaScript. So that may seem kind of like he's like, yeah, do what you want, everyone's cool, but I think the word soil here is really giving you an idea of how he feels about this particular aspect of Ruby, and that was just a few months ago. Which again, this has been out for 3 years, so it's not that new. So yeah, what do I think about this? And well, looking for opinions from Matt, I found this quote. Instead of emphasizing the what, I want to emphasize the how part, how we feel while programming. That's Ruby's main difference from other language designs. I emphasize the feeling in particular, how I feel using Ruby. And I think that's really the crux of it. It feels like most people feel happy without types. Most people working in Ruby are comfortable with the dynamic nature, and yeah. What do I think? I think it's fine. I can see a use for it in perhaps a large organization that uses Ruby, that wants to share modules in between teams, and they want to make sure that they want maybe a shortcut for other teams so they don't have to maybe like delve into the code to understand it. They can just publish an RBS file and people see that as kind of a public interface. Other than that, and yeah, that's kind of the end of my talk. I'll leave it up to you to decide what you think about static typing in Ruby. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Are you taking questions?
Yeah, I'll take some questions. Turn this on. There we go. Yeah.
First of all, I think it takes starting out in Java to really appreciate the joy that Ruby brings.
I would absolutely agree with that. Yes.
Not that I don't like Java, by the way, but yeah.
As its uses. Yeah.
The thing that struck me was that one of the things that you mentioned when talking about Java instead of types was that it provided you as a developer with all these tools. It's easy to find things and that sort of thing. None of that came across with trying out this static typing attempt in Ruby. So it seems like it is trying to shoehorn this notion of static typing onto it without actually providing any of the actual benefits that you see in other languages. Well, what's your take on that?
I would agree with that. Yeah. It definitely doesn't provide the kind of deep linking you can get with a static type language. you can still do something like, you know, monkey patch a function, and no one will have any idea where that code lives. So that, yeah, I could see, like, I had trouble finding any kind of tool support for RBS. If it's there, it's very mature, and I couldn't really, yeah, make it heads or tails of it. I think that I didn't cover sorbet in this because it's not official Ruby, but I think there may be better tool support for sorbet out there, which is another type system that has been added onto Ruby.
I did look that up on Ruby Gems while you're talking about it. 20 times steep
That
in
makes
terms
sense.
of downloads.
I believe that.
I think
yeah.
there's history there with Sorbet trying to do typing before Ruby came along and did it officially, and
There might be some
Sorbet
truth
still
there.
exists.
Yeah, yeah.
There's more tooling around that, I think.
Was it still 20 times on like the most recent version, or you know, like?
Well, that was like I just checked.
Right, sorry, most recent is what's your total?
Good question. I mean, it was the Ruby Gems total downloads. Yeah, 18 million.
Right, yeah,
With
fair enough.
just 1 month.
That's almost 1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, big difference. I think there are some large software houses that are using Sorbet.
Yeah, Shopify and Stripe.
Right.
The ones I can think of.
Right. So yeah. Any other questions, opinions, feelings? Yeah.
How are people how do you distribute RBS files? Do you ship them as part of the gem? Are they a separate thing you can download with like some NPM packages? You get the TypeScript annotations, or?
Yeah. So there's a I didn't quite go into it, but you have an RBS config file that tells I might be getting Steep and RBS confused, but it basically tells the checker where those files are, and then you can distribute that with your gem, and it will just say which files to check, where the type files exist, and that kind of thing. Yeah. So it's all packaged into the gem, and the Steep tool knows where to look for that config file and how to find it. And also all of the standard library in Ruby is now shipped with RBS files that describe it. So one thing is if you just want to just start a new project and you have a tool that can check the types, you can use that on the standard Ruby libraries. Yes?
Does RBS have to be immune for everything, or if you need for specific files, how does that work when you do the Steep check on it?
Yeah, it doesn't, you don't have to describe anything. But what I found, and I didn't see this documented anywhere, but what I found is that if you call a function that is being checked by Steep, and Steep doesn't have the definition for that, it will fail.
Okay.
So theoretically, you don't have to type check everything, but in practice, you kind of do. I even found that private methods would fail if they weren't described in RBS, but then if you did try to describe them, then Steep couldn't see them, so it got very confused. Not a perfect tool, yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Don't you dig dive and have a look at it? Would you say the extra complexity is worth the effort?
That's my personal opinion. Again, like I think if you were shipping something public, like a public library, or you were shipping something between organizations in a larger company, maybe. Yeah, but again, it does kind of it does break a lot of the benefits of Ruby, in my opinion, of just the speed and dynamism that you can use to build things. Yeah.
What do you think about advanced file?
I think that is actually probably one of the strengths. I think if you compare that to Sorbet, Sorbet has the option to have inline type definitions. It looks weird, which is not really a, I'm sure it's something you get used to, but I like the idea, and I think this was done on purpose, was to keep them separate, because I think it is a very contentious issue within the Ruby community, and they didn't want to make you have to change your Ruby code with types. And I think that there are some some members of the core part of the Ruby team that don't like this, and I can't tell you exactly who. It's just a vibe I get. But then Ruby's all about vibes. So yeah. So yeah, by keeping it separate, I think it's trying to make everyone somewhat happy. Yeah.
Yeah, I was initially when I saw that I was like, oh, that's a bit weird. But then I realised I could start RBS and one get ignore in all my projects. Problem solved.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Yeah.
The header file approach, right?
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Is there anything you did like about it, like that you thought would be cool for like small sections, or like anything you found that was like, oh, that's neat?
I didn't like it. Like pretty much, I didn't see anything more than really what I've shown you here. So there was nothing that really wowed me and made me excited to use it. It was more. Honestly, it was kind of a slog because it's not very well documented. Like we saw, there isn't really anything up on Stack Overflow, so there's not even really like a community around it. So it really was just kind of like learning something from scratch all by yourself, and yeah, I didn't have a great experience. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Did you find like, surely someone had to push for this? Like there would have been a concerted effort to say, guys, we need this in Ruby.
Yeah.
Did you find who made that push? Like, and what their opinions or like reasoning was? Because it seems really strange.
I don't. The feeling I get was that newcomers to Ruby were asking for it.
Right.
Yeah, people who maybe Ruby was their first language. They played around with TypeScript and they'd be like, why can't we do something like TypeScript but for Ruby? Yeah.
So it wasn't a deliberately built product.
I can't answer that question. Yeah.
What does the S stand for in RBS?
Signature. Ruby signature. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I think we're done. Thanks, everybody.